The three girls, previously the two girls and the town, walked wordlessly through a vast empty wasteland. There were no landmarks, no sun, no way to establish any direction, but Pam knew where to go, and the girls followed. This was the Deadland. This was the Cactus Land, Death's other kingdom. "We'll be there soon," Pam said over her shoulder. "Soon." Pam slowed her walk, stopped, and turned to look at Anna. "What happens to us when the text reverts to the original?" she asked. "When we scrape it clean?" Anna was silent. Pawnee looked queasy. "We're sacrificing ourselves, aren't we?" Pam said. "That's what you're asking of us, or at least what you're asking of me. You can probably use your dyslexia powers to ride it to the sunset, but what happens to me, myself, if everything's erased? I'd guess that other Pam and I don't have that much in common. If only one of us gets to live in that world, I don't think it would be me. And if that Pam and I don't know, blend consciousness or some sci-fi bullshit, that's still not me. Let's call it what it is. You're asking me to give up my life so you can restore things to your definition of what it should be." "Yes," Anna said simply. "That's what I'm asking. But it would be a noble sacrifice. Everyone in this world is suffering," she continued, getting more heated, "for the sake of cheap jokes. People are hurt. Dozens of people are dead who shouldn't be, and we can fix that." "What about the people who aren't dead, Anna? Your father? The firefighter? My mother? The disgraced railroad tycoon who cosplays as Mikhail Gorbachev?" And yes, as I'm saying that, I realize how ridiculous it is, but is her ridiculous life worth less than the potential other version of her? "I need to sit down for a moment," Pawnee said, sinking to the ground. "And what about Pawnee?" Pam demanded of Anna. "Where does she end up in all this? She doesn't exist at all in the other story. Without this book as it is, she's fucking dead. You say she'll be the new ape or what the fuck ever, but what does that mean for her as a person, not as a metaphor or a device?" "It's not that simple," Anna said. "We're not erasing the book, remember? We're resetting it, and we need a catalyst, something that bridges the two worlds in order to start the reaction, to begin the turbulent action that will unite." Interesting. I should have known better than to think that my digression on page 21 could be inconsequential. It always comes back around. Always. Pawnee is the pharmakon. She is simultaneously the remedy and the poison, both of this tainted world and the pure one, yet at the same time of neither world. She is a representative of both, represents both, but therefore represents neither, represents nothing but representation, and that's how Anna can use her. In being of the pharmakon, in other words, pharmaceutical, Pawnee is analogous to that other infinitely empty signifier, writing itself. The fact that she herself is written, that she is a part of the very structure that defines or defies, only makes the analogy more fitting. Under Anna's guidance, Pawnee can turn herself inside out and consequently turn the text inside out, make the outside retreat inside, and once more restore the inside to the outside. Or, of course, she's just as capable of doing the opposite, of being the poison instead of the remedy. As I said on page 21, writing itself is a pharmakon, yes, but also a mimesis, an empty, false imitation of speech. A simulacrum of speech is simulation, but Pawnee is wholly original. Despite, or due to being a combination of two mimetic lies, she becomes something completely new, completely true, of both worlds, but also of neither. Not a copy of anything. Note, this isn't the same as being a copy of nothing. A facile non-facsimile, an object with no platonic ideal. She is the antithesis of writing. Not an infinite remove from truth, but something beyond truth. If she plays her cards wrong, i.e. only plays that play instead of putting it into play, she could, instead of turning the text inside out, in fact turn inside outness itself inside out, which would be, for lack of a better word, not fucking great. Anna, you're playing a dangerous game, because in using Pawnee as a pharmakon, you're making her a pharmakos. Pharmakos, a concept roughly equivalent to a scapegoat. In ancient Greece, a pharmakos was a person who was taken outside the city and executed, sacrificed. Some cities only performed this rite in times of crisis as a catharsis. In Athens, it happened every year on the 6th day of the Thargelia, Socrates' birthday. The Greeks believed that the death of the pharmakos would facilitate the purification of the city. By sacralizing the victim, the community was able to turn its violence inside out, and this inversion from effect to cause repeated mimicked that initial sacrificial turn that enabled the very oppositions of inside and outside before and after, and even cause and effect itself. In Ritual of the Pharmakos, the city both closed itself to the outside and opened itself. Closed, obviously, by differentiating the other, thus solidifying the self. He was evil, trouble, pestilence incarnate. He is gone now, so we who are still inside the walls are good, safe, prosperous. And yet, at the same time, it was he, through his expulsion, who allowed the safety to come about. Ergo, he must be honored, venerated. He is sacred, an embodiment of the poison, which is simultaneously the cure that drives out the poison. Sound familiar? And it is precisely the role that Anna is forcing Pawnee to play. Pharmakon by virtue of being pharmakos. Does Pawnee know that this is her fate? And if she did, would she agree to it? Now let's uncover, or should I say discover, another link in the chain of signification. Drag Anna herself into this mess. Pawnee, the pharmakon in pharmakos, is also Pharmacia, a nymph who rolled over a poisonous spring. Liquid is the element of the pharmakon after all. Pharmacia was the friend of Orithia, who later became the goddess of cold mountain winds. Here is our Anna. Wind, breath. Breath, speech, creation. The Judeo-Christian God bestowed life onto man by breathing into his nostrils the breath of life. But even before this, it was his speech that created everything. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God's speech wasn't just incidental, the transmission of the message. No, it was the message itself. Only man's rough lips would reduce speech to mimesis. God created the speech, and there's the secret. His first creation, before creation, was speech. But wait, did God create speech? Or was it the other way around? In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Gospel of John conflicts with Genesis' account of in the beginning. Here, God doesn't use the Word uses God. It is the Word from which all things flow, including speech, including man, including God. Can we really trust John's Gospel though? After all, this Gospel isn't the word of God, it's the words of man, the written words of man. Christ was the Word made flesh, but Adam and his descendants weren't. Let's go to Genesis 1:26-27. And God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." So God created man in his own image. The image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Note that God didn't say, "Let there be man." No, he spoke to himself. "Let us make man." Then he created him. He didn't speak him. Genesis 1:27 is so insistent on this distinction that it repeats its creative claim thrice, slightly rephrased on each instance. In other words, Genesis denies our claim to divinity 3 times. Perhaps this is why we cannot speak with the same consequences as when God speaks. Instead, we settle for the much more insidious substitute, the pharmakon of writing. Of course John would write that in the beginning there was the Word. He was trying, probably not even consciously, to put himself on par with God. Because what is writing but our attempt to do just that, to create? Consider, what was man's first instinct when he had fallen? To reach for a leaf to cover himself. Not a literal leaf, but a figurative one. A figurative leaf. Leaf as in page. When man falls, he immediately clutches onto writing and refuses to ever let it go again. God intervened and expelled man from Eden for fear that he eat of the fruit of life and become as God himself, but by then it was already too late. Man had stolen the word, the power to create. Not the uppercase word though, the lowercase word. The written word, the inferior warped copy. God spoke the universe into being. Now man may recreate it by writing it. never create it again but change it, or rather, change his own perception of it. And at last, we circle back to where we started, Pawnee and the pharmakon. Anna has already explicitly established Pawnee as Eve, implicitly established me as the serpent, and Meta implicitly established herself as God, wind, breath, creation. But as the serpent, I gave Eve words. And since this is a world of words, who's really more powerful here, God or the serpent? Anne would have Pawnee refuse my gift, which would allow Anna, the Word, to be secure in her position as God, letting her remake the world, rewrite the Word in her, uppercase her, own image. But what if Pawnee, that unpredictable pharmakon, makes the other choice? What if she reaches for the leaf? And what leaf will it be? The metaphorical leaf of written text, of course, but also it will surely be the leaf of the hemlock, Conia maculatum, maculate, spotted, stained, tainted by the pharmakon. The myth goes that the hemlock plant only became poisonous because it happened to be growing on the hill where Jesus was crucified. When his blood fell on the plant, stained it, it immediately became toxic. Liquid of the Word made flesh, transforming the leaf from innocent to poisonous, flipping it on its invisible axis. But of course, we know that it was toxic long before that. Socrates swallowed a concoction of hemlock when condemned to death by Athens. Hemlock, poison, would have been referred to by the Greeks as a pharmakon, and as such, both was and was not the very poison that it very much was. It was also a remedy, because Socrates was a pharmakos. He, born on the 6th day of Thargelia, the 6th day where God wordlessly created man, was the sacrifice that purified Athens. The hemlock became a hymn. The poison became a remedy. Conium maculatum became immaculate, miraculous. Through the hemlock, the boundaries of Athens solidified. The hem was locked, yet in this locking, it was freed. So I ask again, will Pawnee take the hemlock? Probably shouldn't trust you, Anna, but god damn it, I do. Pam sighed, reached a hand down to Pawnee, and helped her to her feet. You've persuaded me. It is worth the risk and the sacrifice. Pawnee, when it comes time, I won't stand in your way. Anna smiled. Thank you. Let's just get going, Pam said. She began walking. The girls followed.